How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of NASCAR's DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, TK Nation, joined with Megaro31. We are at Kansas for the Cup Series video. Xfinity shortened by rain today. Truck Series almost pulled off an upset with Carson Hocevar on an altering strategy. So we have a lot to learn about this race coming up, but we have learned quite a bit over the past 2 days. Mega, tell us a little bit about what we've learned and what we can expect.
Well, we learned at the tire wear track. We learned that weather is going to be a factor potentially,
Yeah.
and it's really hard. They did race here earlier. Xfinity didn't, so we didn't have that to look back on. But the last race here was a mess. It's the 13th race this season. It was like May 15th, and we were still having tire issues. And there were a ton of guys had tire issues. There were guys that had a ton of pit issues. It was a thing where like the track started off like high at one point, and I believe it got overcast, and some of the cars, performed better at that point. It was just, but bottom line, the Toyotas were all very, very strong.
Yes.
So in the spring, I have their finishing positions, which is colored backwards because the good ones should be.
I do remember from the spring, Kurt Busch was the victor, is what made his 45 car lock for the playoffs. That is now being driven by Bubba Wallace. I don't think he's eligible for any playoff points, but the manufacturer or team playoff points he is eligible to race for with the 45 number. So that is why Bubba has switched from the 23 to the 45. Gibbs running in the 23. That is the only change.
The tires should be better now. We're hoping. It seems like Goodyear might have made them a little harder because they were running with such low air pressure. They're blowing out. It's almost like there's a sniper in the audience. It was just like picking them off like left and right. So Elliott blew a tire and he wrecked out of the race. Bell blew a tire. Reddick was leading, I believe, blew a tire.
This is the race that Ricky was leading, right? No, that's Atlanta.
No, Ricky did lead this one for a bit, and he did have a tire issue, I believe. But yeah,
I'm thinking of Atlanta.
Ricky actually had a tire issue during this qualifying, so that's why he's so far down there, is because he blew out a tire, hit the wall. They just ran the car on the track for the qualifying lap just to kind of do a check on it. But they got that all fixed and they should be good. So, anyways.
So essentially what you're saying is we haven't figured out the tire issue at Kansas. More or less.
It's easy, put more air in it, but if you put more air in it, then you don't run as fast. So it's a trade-off.
Right. So yeah, it's going to be one of those crew chief battles, I think, tomorrow. And we're going to have to go with what we've learned in practice, what we know about car setups over the course of the year and 1.5-mile tracks. That's kind of where I went yesterday with my Xfinity approach. I think I was on the right path, and the rain just kind of screwed everything up. I also had a driver kind of fall out early, but I think we were led on to the right plays. It just didn't go the distance, and I think I got kind of hurt from it. I think you benefited from it, but
yeah, I did. I did well. Yeah. I put in like $36. Ended up winning about 131. So
there it is. Bingo. All right. Let's get into Cup. Let's talk about it.
Before we go any further, second race of the playoffs. Nobody from the playoff group won, so there's no automatic bids to the next round. True. So if you look at the color codes, the green ones are it's actually pretty close. There's not a huge disparity here. It's only about like 50 points, but it looks like the guys in green are the top 6. The guys in yellow are the next 6, and the guys in red are the ones that have fallen below the cut line. So they still have 2 races. So I don't think you're going to see guys be like super conservative here. But if they do run into a little bit of trouble in order to like hold their standings, they might just kind of like play it out instead of try to, make up ground. So we'll see.
Yeah. As I mentioned in the Xfinity video, you can see altering strategies. So let's get into the picks though. Tyler Reddick got on the pole, 9,800. Prime play. I'm a little shocked by this. I wasn't sure I would see this today. Tell me a little bit about why Reddick is prime.
He was fastest in practice. He was he was one of the fastest cars here previously in the other race until he had the tire issue. So that's why he finished 30th in the spring. His just car got damaged from that and just couldn't catch back up. So I really like him here, and this is a high groove track. They don't have enough horsepower. It's better because they're not at least riding in the 550 like I believe they did like back in like last year. I mean, it's 650, but it's still like we saw in Xfinity, like you really just you run high here, and that's what he's really good at. And it's tire wear. He's good at that too.
He finished third in Phoenix, seventh at Las Vegas. I like those comparisons as well on that mile and a half. Darlington in the spring, Reddick finished second. So I could totally see it. Looks like they got some mile and a half speed. 9,800 looks like a real solid price tag. Probably a good cash block right here. And I'm not really feeling threatened by Logano and Bowman. I think Logano.
So he's going to be the early leader at 9,800. You kind of have to have
it. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Unless they have a competition caution with like the way the weather's been, but still, I think he's fine.
Right. I would say Logano is the only real threat to him up here. I don't know. Bowman, I don't think's been in great form. Maybe he's got a better car here today. But
again, here's another thing that happened. Like during the qualifying, like either it got cloudy or the sun came out. It was one of the two. And that's why some of these guys ended up in the 20s, because they had completely different weather conditions than some of the other ones. And Bowman, I think, benefited. And we had a race like this not too long ago, too. So I believe Bowman benefited from the weather conditions when he ran. But then some of these guys that are starting down in the 20s, like it was a disadvantage. So I don't think we can read super. I mean, ninth in practice, I do have the differential there, too, because that's kind of nice to look at. So I think Bowman, you can play in Logano, you can play, but back at the Penske cars were really bad. They really struggled early on in the spring race. And it wasn't until like the conditions changed with the weather that they started to come on, and they like still he like only finished like 17th. So like it was a struggle here. They just didn't seem to have the speed. 13th in practice. So Logano and Bowman, I think you can put them in your multi-entry ones, but I just don't trust them in cash. And I think it's going to be just put Reddick out there far ahead of everybody until probably, some of these guys in the middle catch up.
All right. Next up, we have Christopher Bell starting fourth, 9,600. Raced really well last week at Darlington. Could you go back to the well?
Yeah, I think he was like, besides having the tire issue, he was a very strong car here, and he actually made up ground even after having the tire issue or pit road speeding issue, and finished fifth here. So these Gibbs cars, these Toyotas have been super, super strong here. I think he's definitely in play here. And I think in cash, if you want to play both him and Reddick, you can do that. These are the only two people in the top 10 that I'd probably pair together.
Right on. Next up, we have Ross Chastain in the 10K flat, just raced in the Xfinity race in the 48 Big Machine Racing car. What are your thoughts on Ross Chastain pulling double duty?
I think he's okay here. He was on fire and he's kind of cooled off recently. Second fastest in practice, seventh here in the spring, but in the spring, he didn't really have a dominant car. He had a car that just was kind of like finished among the Toyotas. So at no point, like I look back, I see him, I think like up, like leading the race, but he's one that is aggressive and is in the playoffs and has a little bit of work to do. So, in order to get up to like the green level, I think he's got to do some stuff. But 10K, like all the other drivers here are like beyond that. So that's why I have him kind of as a GPP, because if he doesn't get up there and lead, I don't know if he can pay off his price tag.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Next up, we have Bubba Wallace, the 45. Looks like he's got a really fast hot rod. We know the 45 car won in the spring. Your thoughts on Bubba at 8K?
Yeah, he was 10th here, and this car won. So it's definitely, I like him here. Again, I think he's more of a tournament play, but I just wish he wasn't starting so high up here.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, if he was starting like 15th or
10th,
15th to
even
10th,
10th,
I'd like him a
10th
lot
through
more.
15th.
I'll
Yeah.
definitely have some exposure to him, but not in my cash lineup. I want
Yeah,
to take advantage of the point differential people or place differential people.
GPPs, I was just about to say, if you think Bubba Wallace can finish inside the top 5 lead laps at 8K, perfect GPP play, because I
He'll be
don't think
popular.
you think so?
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah,
don't
I think
know.
he will. I think people look at how the Toyotas did last time and know that this car won the race last
Mhm.
time, and just I think that they'll plug him in.
Well, someone's got to be low owned up here in the top 10. I think it might be this next guy, Kyle Larson at 10.7.
No, I think he's going to
People
be high. Also, he had the second
really.
best car. Like he was banging with Kyle Busch and just kind of actually was like kind of nice and let him, win the race. Like he could have like strong armed him, but he raced him pretty clean. So, and the only issue I have with Kyle, and the only reason I put him as a GPP here is just the whole tire thing. And that's
Right.
what really scares me. And I think he had a tire issue, but he was able to climb back up. So, and the
I
Hendricks
actually,
cars were just a tick below the Gibbs cars. Like they were the two teams that had the most speed and power, it seemed like, at this track last time.
see, I kind of think he's going to be the low owned play just because of the price point at 10.7. I think everyone's going to gravitate towards people like Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott and even Denny Hamlin, all because of the place differential. I think that if they are going to play chalk Tyler Reddick, I think that they're going to skip everyone inside this top 10, regardless of the price tag 10.7,
You can get
10K.
you can get Reddick, Larson, and Bush or Hamlin. There's enough value here to make it
Yeah,
work and not hate your lineup and want to throw up in your mouth.
sure. I just don't think people think Kyle Larson is trustworthy enough, I guess. I think everyone's kind of coming on board with the fact that Larson isn't dominating like he used to and without the Gen 6 car or whatever. So I don't know. I just think he might be low owned. Either way, I don't play that much Kyle Larson. I just kind of I level it out each week at like 20-25% and then just go on my merry way. And it seems to be working out this year. Austin Cindric starting 8th, 7,500. Looks like this is a fade.
Yeah, it's I put it as a GPP, but I think Fade. He had a really bad practice. He didn't look good here, and I know he finished 11th, but it was a struggling 11th in the spring race. Hasn't been in good form recently, so I put him as a GPP, but I'm not really interested. I don't think I'll have much share, less than 5% of him.
I would agree. Next up, we have William Byron, 9,100, starting 9th. Is there any kind of form here to hang your hat on? I really don't like Byron lately.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to make him a cash play because
Wow.
he was so strong here until he cut down that tire. Like
Mm-hmm.
he did, and he finished 16th just because he couldn't make it all the way back up. But he looked really good here with during last spring race here. So
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one that can get up there, and he's actually second right now in the point standing. So uh, you
He
know
did make me look a little foolish last week before he kind of tapered off. I just think something always happens to Byron. He's getting a lot. I don't know if it's just bad luck or he's just not putting himself in the right position on track, but something always seems to go wrong for the 24. That could just be me. I
yeah.
don't know. Next up we have Chris Buescher starting 10th, 17th, or the 17 car, 6,900. I think GPP's fine.
Yeah, he really he spun out on lap 4 last in the spring race.
Yeah.
So I think he had a tire issue or something. So I don't know. Busher had a pretty decent run there, but I think he's starting way too far forward here. So GPP to fade for me. I know he like had top 10 speed in practice, but I'm not really buying it. I think there's some regression here.
All right. I think I would agree with you actually on that one. Austin Dillon, 7,700.
Yeah, starting too far forward. Like
Yeah, I'm not on
he's
this.
like a 15th place car usually.
I think I'm out on Cindric, Busher, and Dillon. I think I'm with you on that. Next up, we have Martin Truex Jr. 10-3. I mean, he was the cream of the crop yet last week. And then, I mean, I don't know what happened to the Toyotas at the end of that race. That was awful.
Yeah. Yeah, his car just blew up and just felt bad for him there. He was really good in this race also, but he had a couple penalties, I believe, on pit road. So, like, he's got to make sure that those things are clean.
Yeah.
But he's the one that really wants to stick it to them, I think. He wants.
Yeah, I think he wants to play spoiler.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, like the whole playoffs. I think he just wants to be a nuisance
to
every playoff car.
Hey, guys, remember me?
Yeah. Yep.
See you next year. Yeah.
Exactly. I like that incentive. I think I'll have him in GBPs. I think he doesn't finish anywhere higher than 4th, but I like him for a top 5 through 7. If that makes any sense. I just wish he was like 9-6.
Yeah.
Chase Briscoe, 7,300.
Got some work to do, but I don't know. Again, like this, I think he's a great GPP play because it's so boom or bust. Like he's still in the playoffs. He's still got two races. So do they make some crazy moves to try to, or if they're maybe they feel they have a better shot at Bristol, are they just going to play this one out and fight for the next one? So if they don't think they can win the race, then you don't want to like lose the race.
I could see stage point racing right here for the 14. I don't know. GPP to fade. I don't love it. I think there's a lot of guys behind him that can pass him.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Next up, we have Kevin Harvick in the 4, 8,700. Is Kevin Harvick just going to disappear, or is he actually going to fight for something here? I don't know.
Anybody needs to go into YouTube and Google or just look up, search for his press conference today. He went off for like 15 minutes on the safety of these cars and just stuck it to NASCAR, talked about having an independent panel when it comes to safety and not letting the bureaucrats of NASCAR who are concerned about TV contracts and money and stuff make the decisions. He talked about how they've been telling him
coming from
like months, like his car caught on fire.
Oh,
you can see like the foam and everything like melting in it, and they talked about having
first
spray for it.
Yeah,
and he's been it long enough, and he was there, I believe, when like Adam Petty got killed and Dale Earnhardt got killed. That's why he took over his ride there.
Over for 3,
yeah, and just like he talked about the Hans's advice and like, why didn't we mandate it sooner? Why did we have to have like 3 people or 2 people die and like one person gets very seriously injured and all the different things? He's like, these cars aren't safer. Every time they get hit by any front back, it hurts their bodies physically. So
yeah, the foam panel is a very interesting subject. I think NASCAR has to look into. Really close to the rear brake, and if those catch on fire, it just engulfs the whole car within seconds because of just how they say it's fire resistant, but it's just not. I don't know how else you can say. I mean, this isn't the first car we've seen catch on fire like this. So I believe it was like JJ Yaley or something like the other week. I don't know if it was at Daytona or the race before. His car caught on fire pretty quickly too. So I think he's onto something. It'll be interesting to monitor. If he's racing pissed off, I love it. I just think
he's good at this type of he's good at this type of track
tire
wear and everything. He used to be great at the old Atlanta. So
yeah, I like him with a track fit regardless of anything else, and 8,700 super cheap, so I'm in. Daniel Suarez, 8,400, another really cheap car here. Trackhouse really consistent with their builds and their setups for their races, so I think I'm in.
Yeah, you probably could top 10 here.
Yeah, I think it would be within the realistic point total for Daniel Suarez to be in an optimal. Him or Harvick, I think you could play in a balanced approach, both of them. So I don't mind it. Next up, we have Ty Gibbs. Ran really well in practice, and obviously this
This sets up to be
2311. I was gonna say the 2311 team has this track figured out, yes. So I'm in.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is his best opportunity to finish his career best here.
Yep.
So I don't think he's going to win the race, but I think he could be like top 5, top 3.
He ran so well in the Xfinity Series too. I think he was having one of his best races of the season. I think he could have won if it went the distance.
Yep.
So I really like Ty Gibbs here, and yeah, I'm with you. I think this is his opportunity to let the world know who he is. So on the Cup level, Ryan Blaney, 8,900. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to.
Yeah, I think he's a GPP for me. I think he's going to have high ownership. If people are going to look at, like he did, I believe, lead some laps and do well in the spring race, but then he started to fade back again. So that's just the thing. We see Blaney qualify well or get up to the front and just fade back. I just don't really like these Fords compared to the Hendricks Chevys and the Toyotas here. So I think he's just kind of there. Let's I probably can get it up to the top 10, but there's so many other top 7. Yeah,
we need top 7 to start paying off that price tag. I think Harvick and Suarez have a better chance.
Yep.
Next up is Harrison Burton. No.
Yeah, he's starting way too far forward here. So top 10 in practice, but then again, like I said, with the weather, that could have been a factor. 21st. So yeah, I think he finishes maybe in the top 20, but I'm not gonna pay to see.
Yeah, and even that's risky. Next up, we have Corey LaJoie. No.
Yeah, way too far forward here. We had a good race last week, though. But
sure, but both these guys are fades. Kyle Busch, 10-9. GPP for sure, because you always want to like have that Kyle Busch share, in the ready. I still just
so close to cash on this because did you see the speculation today? They signed with RCR.
Oh, I think everyone knows it's either Childress or Colleague at this point.
Well, it's like most of the rumors on Twitter say we're like that RCR is where he's going to go. So
yeah,
it's supposed to be a big announcement maybe Tuesday or something. So, but yeah, I think this
is he going to take over the 8.
Was it? Well, there was talk that they might bring back the 29, 31, or 33.
If he took over the 8 and Kyle Busch is racing in the 8 car. The junior fans would be pissed.
Austin like Childress owns like a bunch of charters.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud of Reddick leaving for Toyota, and
but I don't know. They might make him fill. But we've talked about Austin Hill coming up, so maybe they filled 3 cars. But anyways, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But anyways, like Busch was dominating last week until his car blew up also. So hopefully they got that figured out. And he was really, really good here and finished 3rd, and it was very strong. And he was actually contending for lead quite a few times before Larson and his brother got ahead of him. I think, again, they made mistakes on pit road, but he's got a really good pit crew here. So, and he's got some work to do here because he's in the yellow level after last week. So everything points to him potentially being a cash play here. I think I would prefer to take Hamlin over him. If we're like, if I'm going in this price range, but he's the first guy in my GPP lineup.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Next up, we have Ty Dillon, 21st, 5,800. I still think this is too far forward. I'm out.
Yeah, 29th in practice. He just really didn't show any speed here. So, again, you got to be wondering, like, some of these guys we're going to start getting to here with nothing really to do. This could be testing for these teams for next year.
Good call. I think that's a good thought. That they're just simply out here running laps, tuning up for next year. Next up, we have Chase Elliott in the 9 car, starting 22nd, 10-5. Chase, not so hot right now.
Yeah, really hasn't shown good form. Really didn't show good speed in practice. He
Yeah.
was 29th. He cut a tire down and got stuck in the grass last race here at Kansas, and just really doesn't have like a super great history here. So I'm out. If people want to play him for the place differential, that's fine. But I take Kyle Busch over him. I definitely take Denny Hamlin over him.
Yeah, I think I lean Hamlin here. And obviously Kyle Busch, because I love how Kyle Busch has performed on mile and a halves. Chase Elliott really struggling on the mile and a half circuit. Yeah, I don't know what much more to say. I think he should still be in your player pool if you're doing like a 20 entry max. You want to have a couple of shares, or you could just totally fade him in that 20 entry max and just go with Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney, and just kind of bank on those place differential points. And if he does blow up again, you're kind of sitting pretty, because I think his ownership will still be high regardless of the recent form.
Yeah, you probably want like 5% at 20 max. If you're going with 150 max, then you probably do 15% on them.
Yeah, yeah. If that's how you want to handle it, I think that's a good way to go. Michael McDowell, starting 23rd in the 34, 6,700. I think he's somewhat playable. I
Yeah,
don't
he
mind it.
continues to surprise. He had a weird pit strategy last
Yeah,
time and did
yeah,
got the
yeah.
caution at the right time in the last race and did really well. 23rd here, starting 23rd, 23rd in practice. Remember, like there was an Xfinity guy. I didn't look to see if he finished 8th, but I forget who it was.
Josh Berry.
Yeah. So
Josh Berry, starting 8th, finished 8th in the previous race. Yeah, practiced 8th, I think.
yeah.
The 8 car.
So let's bet if we can bet like Michael McDowell for like the 23rd, and we'll see. And Josh Berry finished 7th.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, it's right in front of your face.
so 22nd for Michael McDowell.
Michael McDowell's finishing 22nd easily. Bet that top 22. Here we go. Eric Jones in the 43 car 7-8, coming off of a win at Darlington. Eric Jones.
He's a good driver. I think it's a GPP here just because he didn't really look good in practice. I think it's kind of really like a hangover from him. He wasn't, I don't think he was the best car last week, because the best cars like
he wasn't the best car, he just won.
But yeah, he was in the best position towards the end of the race, and he won it. 32nd here in the spring race. So again, I think GPP, but a 780 is kind of priced in no man's land. So
yeah,
it's not really a
weird
value.
part.
Yeah. So I'll have some shares of them in my GPPs, but I'm not playing them in cash.
I was going to say the only thing going for Eric Jones in this DFS format right now is everyone's playing Ty Gibbs, but I don't think anyone's playing Briscoe, Dillon, or Cindric. So it's like the only two 7K plays that I think people play are Eric Jones and Ty Gibbs. So I think he'll be somewhat owned because of the price point and his price. I think I'm going to have to fall on some shares, because I think Bubba Wallace is starting a little too high for my liking.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of where I'm at. I think Eric Jones in the player pool, no matter what. Denny Hamlin, 11-1, super crazy price tag, but we kind of got lucky with the starting spot.
Yeah, definitely. But I think they were looking at how well he did here in the other race, and the Toyotas just dominated, and they've always been good in the playoffs. It's like Gibbs tests and puts all their efforts into these tracks, and they usually come out swinging in the early rounds to try to get a decent lead. So
yeah, I think Denny Hamlin is a cash play.
Yep.
Next up, we have Brad Keselowski, 7K. Not much interest from me except for GPPs.
Yeah, I flirted with him in cash though, but then I had it because he's been really good on tire wear tracks and is actually. But then I thought about it too, and maybe he's one of the ones that's looking towards next year, not in the playoffs. Let's see what we can do, experiment with setups and things like that, learn what we can, take some notes, and be ready for next year on these mile and a half. So
yeah, I could see him finishing somewhere around like 17 to 20th. I just don't know at 7K if that's what I want. I think I'd rather take a shot at the value down here instead of Brad Keselowski, if that makes any sense. Next up, we have Justin Haley, 5,500 in the 31 Colleague Racing Prime Play. Take it away.
Well, you look at, he finished 35th in the spring, but he cut a tire down. The car caught on fire. So, he really couldn't continue after that. And actually, I think he did go back out there and still made up some laps, but I think he had like so much damage, he just couldn't get up to where he needed to be. But he was 8th in practice here, so it didn't qualify well. I think he was one of the victims of like the weather changing, but he's just been solid. He's been like a little bit of a slump the last couple of races, but like one of them was Daytona. So
Sure.
I just really feel like if I look at these lower price guys at 5,500, he opens up so much, and I think that he definitely can get up into probably the top at least 25, potentially top 20 at 5,500. Even if he finished where he starts right there, that's going to where's he starting? 27th. 27th is 15 points. So that's not horrible.
I'd love it if he would finish inside the top 18. I think that would be optimal, which I think is also realistic. We saw some guys in the Xfinity race, didn't think they would be running as well on their average running position, and they did kind of surprise us. Next up, we have Noah Gragson in the 16th, starting 28th. Any love?
Yes, definitely. Really like him in cash also, just because of how well he's running Xfinity. He finished 18th here in the spring, ran a really clean race, did everything he needed to do. And this car isn't the fastest car, but I think he can get a lot out of it. And, he's going to be a cup driver next year in the 42. So, I think it's a really good chance for him to go out there and, I think mistakes will be made. And if he can continue to, and his crew and his team, and not speed on pit row and not like lose tires or too many, people over the wall too soon or anything like that. Stupid. He doesn't cut down tires. I think he's good. And he can ride the wall too. So
yeah. Good thoughts. Next up we have Cole Custer, 66K. Any love?
He's another one that I think is going to be highly owned just because they're going to look at him like, oh, it's Cole Custer. But I think Cole Custer
worked out last week.
I think he really needs to go back to Xfinity. I think this is another guy that's going to be, no, I think he needs to drop down and get a little bit more experience like Hemrick did, and then try to come back up. And again, I think he's another one that could just be out there like testing and gathering information for the Stewart-Haas team. Like we saw them mail it in last year,
we did.
And put everything into this car. They really didn't compete last year, and I think they made some strides with some of their cars with Briscoe and Harvick, but I think he's going to be the one that's out there trying to gather data for them.
Next up, we have Cody Ware in the 51. Nope. Thanks.
Nope.
Landon Castle.
It's a fade. I just don't trust this car. I don't think, but maybe I can move his GPP. He did run the Xfinity race today, right?
Yeah, I guess
he's in a colleague car there, right? Or no, is he R Racing or who's?
No, he's in the colleague 10.
Oh, okay.
Next up, we have JJ Elliott in the 55.
He was like finished like 21st today. He had a phenomenal race. So I think MBM Motorsports is like terrible. A little bit better. What's that?
MBM ain't that good.
I know they're not that good, but I think it's better than the BJ McLeod.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not low.
Yeah. I like him better than like Ware, and so I'm not saying you have to play him, but I'm just saying he's an option.
Well, hey, one wreck, he's there.
Yeah.
Because he could maybe finish like 28th without any wrecks.
Yeah.
Maybe 25th at best, and then we'll get him there. BJ McLeod, no. Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah, like I said, he blew a tire out in practice and hit the wall. So they didn't really try to qualify. They just tried to see how much damage was going on in the car to just try to get him up to as much speed as they could. They've made the adjustments, fixed the car, should be perfectly fine. He ran a phenomenal race. Like led a couple of the laps in the spring, and I wouldn't look too much into his practice speed because of the issue here. I think even though he's been in poor form recently, I think that he can definitely get up into the top 25, 10 place differential points, 6,300, lock him in. Love it.
Yeah. Next up, we have Eric Elmorella, 6,500. I do think this is a very chalky play. Blew a valve stem. They had to replace the entire engine. Look at me. I'm all caught up on my news. So he wasn't able to make a qualifying lap after a few laps in practice. I think Almirola will be fine. I think Stewart-Haas has enough resources to make that engine right. I think it's a little risky. If you were to fade in cash, it would be very different. If you want to fade in GBPs, I think that's fine and viable. But realistically, I think everyone's playing Ricky Stenhouse and Eric Almirola tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just not the best type of track. That's the only thing that mildly concerns me. I think I'd rather play, like I said, like Haley, Gregson, and Stenhouse here because I just don't know. We'll see. I
think
he's not in my main cash line, but I have him as a cash play. I just think if there's somebody I'm pivoting off of, I'm definitely keeping Stenhouse, but I don't think like Almirola. I don't like him as much as I like Haley and Gregson.
He hasn't had much of that contract boost that I thought he would have, where it's like, oh, they really invested in me. Maybe I should really turn into something. He's kind of gone the opposite direction since signing his contract. It's actually quite crazy. So yeah, I think he's a cash block. If you don't want to play him, I don't think that's a terrible idea. I think he can be extremely different to the field. And as we know in NASCAR, a lot of people make a lot of the same lineups. So I could see it. Next up, we have Todd Gillan, 5,400, starting 38th.
I think, he's 25th, and that's probably where he probably can get up to most races. He finishes anywhere from like 30th to 25th. He's starting last. So didn't have great speed in practice, but he was 30th there. So, give me 5,400. I like him so much more than Almirola here because I'm saving almost $1,000. And I think he can probably get up to about the same place that Elmorella would.
Yeah. All right. That'll wrap things up. Mega, any last thoughts?
No, just like watch the weather and just play lightly. Although I think, on FanDuel, they are going to make us play lightly anyways because their contests are complete garbage because it's NFL football. So if you're still watching this video at this point, thank you so much for, we like you.
Yeah, man, NASCAR faithful out here, trying to make some money. We have a lot of reduced prize pools. That's okay. Give me the better idea or give me the better shot at the top prize, while all of the casuals make their way to NFL.
Yeah, look for
all of us that are
overlay.
All of us grinding NASCAR got a better opportunity,
especially contests that have tickets. I mean, you might find 5 tickets available. There's only 4 people in it, so you just automatically enter. You automatically get a ticket for something.
Bingo. Keep an eye out for lobby and contest selection. Might be some free money in the NASCAR pools. So, Mega, thank you for joining us this evening. Good luck in your contest tomorrow. Good luck to all of you in your contest. You can leave a like, comment with any questions you may have. You can follow me on Twitter at TKNation47. You can follow Mega at MegaRoller31. Or you can find us on our website, FSIDFS.com. You can find the Discord channel in the website and on our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS. I'm out of time. Good luck.